Armenian name is Garbis. My father used to call me Garabed. That's Turkish version of the Garbis. I wind up with everybody calling me Charlie. And I was born Aleppo, Syria, January 26, 1943. During the Ottoman Empire, Armenians lived in Turkey. It was part of Armenia. They took over. They wanted to get rid of our race. Hundreds of thousands of people died. The Turks were moving Armenians out of their country and sent them the desert. A lot of people, elderly, kids, they were in the desert. That's between Turkey and Syria. Right in the middle, there's a desert. The name of the desert is Derzor. My mother was just 8, 9 months old in the bandages, and her mother was going out to get killed or die. She was smart enough, left her front of the door of the Belgium embassy, and she went on, got killed, or died, or starved to death. Belgium embassy, they were husband and wife, and they were kind of up in the age. They take the baby in, they raise her until like 3 or 4 years old. When they got to the age where they can't take care of her anymore, took her to the minister of this church, Armenian church in Syria. They left the church quite a bit of money so they can raise my mom. The church did the best they could, and after she got to a certain age, 5, 6 years later, they took her to the orphanage. My father was hard of hearing, hard of talking. My grandmother, in his very young age, he sent him a month away on the horse and buggy to school to get his speech back and also get some education. 1 month in horse and buggy. She was desperate for him to make it in this world. She didn't want him to be in a poor, helpless condition where he can't talk, can't hear. He wanted to make sure, sends him somewhere where he's going to, and he did a lot of it. He recouped some of it. He tells the stories about the Turks were killing a lot of Armenians in the school he was in, the Armenian American College. The genocide started, and the school starts sending all the kids back to their parents. When he was in the back of the horse and buggy, and there's pit stops on the road, Turkish soldiers finding if there was somebody was running out of the country, they're going to kill him. Whether it's a boy or a girl, a teenager, it doesn't matter. You're dead. And they get in they undo the cover of the horse and buggy, and my father, maybe one other person or some, are under the blanket. They changed my father's name from what his name is. They named him Muslim name. If they name him his real name, that's an Armenian name. He's dead. And the driver said his name is Akil. That was his name, Akil. And that's how they the driver of the horse and buggy smuggled them through the fields and the country from this end of the country to the other end of the country. and the safe. When he comes home, he's full of bugs, malaria, diseases, all kinds of diseases. And he comes home, he goes to the house, there's nobody there. Turkish soldiers, they're already pushed all my grain, the whole village, the whole town, they're out in the desert. They're walking out in the desert. He's standing there against the wall, crying, full of bugs, sick. Some women recognize him. She take care of him, then she goes way out there, find my grandmother and grandfather. And that's how he got united. Syrian government was a Muslim government, same as Turks, but they loved Armenian people. They welcomed them and hand them foot. They gave them a place to sleep. They gave them food. They helped them to build churches. Armenians are very rooted in Aleppo, Syria, and that part of the country they have humongous, big respect for us. Nobody could be luckier than I am for my parents. Until my last breath, I always tell people they were saints. They're saints. And I never heard bad word. I never heard anything. They got a bad temper or none. In the old country, they found the boy, they found the girl, they get them married. And my mother and my father, they got them together.
What was your mother's name?
Lydia. My mom was gentlest soul, so special. She was devoted, family. We make sure we were never think of herself, very, very devoted Christian person. Always in the church, always helping other people. We all grew up with the sweaters that my mom knitted. You can't go out and buy one, or they didn't have it. And she, all day long, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This cooking she's doing, it's a very back-breaking, very hard, and these were all hours and hours would take to make a meal, Armenian meals. I know she's sitting there next to him. Not only my mother and my father, never heard once raise his voice, none of us ever got spanked. His name is Avedis. That's my middle name, Charles Avedis Mahserjian. They called him Akhras. Arabic word is a dumb, can't talk. 2-star generals, chief of police, the mayor, and they loved him. My father was very well loved by the local business people. They call him Akhras, and they call him Usta. Turkish word is, an Arabic word is Ma'allim. Arabic people will come in, they can't wait to say Ma'allim. My boss. And with Turkish people, Usta. What my father went through and what he did with himself, he became famous. He did in Syria, Aleppo, Syria. My father had all the government contracts, all the military, all the police, all their vehicles, all of them. Everything comes to my father. When he walked in the police station, everybody stood in attention. He was loved, well respected, highly respected. So respected, I can't believe it. I always tell everybody, I can't even polish my father's toe. From nothing, from out of rocks, and made a pretty wealthy guy, the biggest businesses, and one of the most famous boulevard in Syria. Never once ever thought about themselves. Kids, the family comes first. Everything is the family. We didn't have no heat in the houses. One little kerosene stove, it's about this wide, and the fire goes on all day, all night. On top of that stove, that's where we had our tea. That's how she cooked the meal. And the kid was heating the house, and end of the day, time to go to bed. My father had a cobblestones, would go on that stove. It gets nice and hot. She wraps it in the towel. When we went to bed, it's freezing inside. There's no heat, no light, and we'd go underneath the bed and then put that big cobblestone on our feet so we can keep warm. Psychologically, you were warm. Once you feel a little heat at the tip of your toes, then that would go okay. That's how we grew up. And Sunday afternoon after church, my father had to put me on his shoulder. I was like 2 years old. We walk 7-8 miles to go relatives in suburb. And horse and buggies are, there was taxis, but there was no taxis where we were. There was too much of a poor section. It's the horse and buggies. And my father, when we were so far away on a Sunday night, we walked there. We spent most of the day there. Now it's 11 o'clock at night. It takes 2-3 hours to walk. I think I was born in love with cars. And since I was a little baby in my father's store, I started driving when I was 7-8 years old. I mean, full-time driving. My father never learned how to drive a car. I'm the one drove my father without a license, and my father's employees, then they had a special box for me and the pillows, and they had a special thing under my feet for I can reach my clutch and the gas pedal, and I drove them home and then brought them back. I was a full-scale driver by the time I was 10. I was very proud kid. Oh, I drove my father's cars, my father's customers' cars, and I drove sometime the chief of police Jeep to the house. Of course, who's going to stop the chief of police's car? And here I am, I'm 8 years old. They got pillows under my butt and they raise me up so I can see and can reach my pedal. I took advantage of that. I remember, just a little wild, a little crazy. I was still wild, crazy here, and driving the wife 140 miles an hour, and I still do now and then. But driving, it's in my blood. When I was 14 years old in my father's store, Turkish people used to come from across the border. They used to come buy things in our city, in Aleppo. And me, my father's help, all my friends will take these guys and send them the other end of the city to get lost. They're looking for eat something, or they want to buy something. We used to misguide them. We did that for years. We got a kick out of it. That was our happy day. Because of the Muslim country, the genocide, and my father's mind is, we have to be out of here. We have to get out of here. It's going to happen again. It happened again. I was the one answered a call from American Embassy that your family got the quota, your numbers out, you allowed to go to the United States. And my father and my parents were waiting maybe 20 years when we got this call, and mother and father, they were talking. What we decided with mom and dad, and we're going to send the oldest, my oldest brother. He was a business-minded, he was running the business. He came over, took my older brother at least 5-6 months before we got a real good, solid decision was made that this is very good. I'm working and I'm making money, I'm paying my bills, and I think we have a future here. And then me, my older sister, we come next. I came in 1958. I was young. It was a different world here. I came, I had to learn English, I didn't know, and had to learn, I didn't even know where to go get a loaf of bread or get a haircut. And one day at a time, I'm working, my sister's working, she did the sewing. We all three of us, we found an apartment, and we could afford our whole apartment, 1 bedroom, very small, very tiny kitchen, and a very tiny living room. We enjoyed working, 90 cents an hour wage, minimum wage. My sister will bring enough money to buy the groceries. Then my brother would make enough money just about pay the rent. In this tiny little room, my sister would, of course, she'll have the bedroom. And my brother will have the sofa, and I'll sleep on the rug, on the floor. 6 years later, my younger brother came by himself, and shortly, about a year later or so, by the time my father sold his businesses, his home, his real estate, and they came later. Somehow, I got in the Army. Being in the Army, one of my fondest days of my life. American people, at least the people that I had the pleasure to meet, once they know you can't talk English, I'm learning every day, they went out of their way. Always. They made time. We get training all day. While they're training, there's one guy sitting next to me all the time. He's explaining to me what the classes was all about and what they're teaching us. Because of that, I picked up the English very, very fast. I can tell you a story, what was first day. And when they call you, there's a card right in front of each person that's standing against the wall of this big long counter. They tell you you're supposed to print your name, your date of birth, your rank, and so on. So I didn't know what the print meant. So I go to the front of the counter on my card, I start writing my name. I'm writing my name. I didn't know do the printing. And the sergeant, and he was a great big World War II sergeant, 6'6". He was a humongous guy. He had so many medals, and he looked at me. Oh boy, I got scared. I never forget. And soldier, come forward. So I step forward, get down, give me 70 push-ups. So I go down and I do a 70 push-ups. And one of the guys, they go whisper the sergeant's name, that this gentleman doesn't know how to speak English well. From that point on, when he found out that he made me do a push-up, I didn't know how to print my name. I didn't understand what he said. He was like a second brother to me. And every night, before we go mess hall to eat, he spends at least half an hour to 45 minutes a day, every day, teach me English. I used to write down the name, what it was I didn't understand. Somebody said something. He says, first, what did you write today? What did you have today? Okay, this is what it was, and he'll explain to me what that was.
This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba.
So I want to hear a little bit about the Cuban Missile Crisis. And
That wasn't much, but it's, I was ready to go to combat. We had our ammunition, and we're in New York City, and waiting to fly to Cuba, Guantanamo. And while we were there, we got the call from that Khrushchev caved in and decided to pull the missiles back. More heartwarming part of it was how my brother picked me up at 2 o'clock in the morning at home and drove me to the armory at like almost 3:30 there, and he left me in the front lawn of the armory, and he was just crying like a baby. And that, to me, I never forget that he was letting me go, you know. And him and I, we started a business together. We were very, very close.
this is your older brother.
My older brother passed away, George. He kept saying, you know, don't take any wild chances. I know you're crazy, and he was giving me all kinds of advice to stay off the front line, to try to keep it cool so you make it back home. My younger brother, that's me there. It's my older brother, George. We wearing the hat, the same color on top of the hat, Armenian hat. I was a bachelor, confirmed bachelor. I never wanted to get married. I was no interest to seeing somebody steady. I meet them, take them out for a couple of times. Then I take them out for a very nice restaurant. And I look them in the eye. I says, I'm going to say a few things. Please don't hold it against me. I says, this is going to be our last date, and I'm going to move on. I found Jean so many of my qualities, so many things we devote our lives is, I saw it in her. Giving, doing, and without even ask, you don't even know who they are, where she is. She just jumps right in. I had a very large cabin cruiser, big boat. I gave a big party on my boat for all my help in the restaurant. I had the body shop. My friends I dealt with, I did business with, they're all invited at the boat. That was a one big party, and she was invited. And I drank too much. After everybody left, I passed out or went to sleep or whatever. I was in my boat. Next morning, I see, when I got up, she was just walking in the back deck of the boat with her friend. All of a sudden, I see Dunkin' Donuts, I see all kinds of coffee, and she went through my boat from the front to the back. She knew how my boat was supposed to look. With her friend, they cleaned that boat like a... And we had coffee, had breakfast, and it was special for me. She did impress me that day, but I was never told anybody. Never told anybody. And next morning, Monday, she was working, and I thanked her very much that I was something very special. I really, really appreciate it. I never forget that. And that was the beginning of the beginning. A little while later, she was having one of her cousins get married and stuff. And she invited me I'm saying, boy, don't her parents care about who she's going out with? And I'm like 16 years older than her. And well, I was invited. I really didn't want to go. I juggling it in my head. I must have just finally decided to go to that party. That was the kind of broke the ice of our relation. It's okay for her to invite me for a special occasion, for a special thing in her family. That means, to me, that's very important. I was still not there that I'm going to take her out on a date. I wasn't even close. I was enjoying her company, and I was impressed with her, what she did in the boat, spick and span. Then we go every week. We weren't going on the dates, but every week on Friday night or Saturday night when I told her, because she was working in the diner, and when everybody's gone, all the help is gone, and we go Howard Johnson on Route 7. For the longest time, we go every weekend on the Friday night or Saturday night, and we go have one dish. She'll have her chocolate ice cream in one dish inside. I love pistachio ice cream. And we had to have fudge, walnuts in one dish together. We ate, we talked, then went home. That went on for a long time. She was special. And I had a special feeling for her. And there was something about her family, caring, giving, doing, so much like my family. And I'll tell you the truth, the pressure was building up. What are you waiting for? you're almost 45 when you get married. And that's what I got, the too much pressure. And finally I gave in and I got married. And she didn't have no problem with that. I'll be honest with you, to me, I felt very comfortable because we were going together for a long time. And she was already so much involved with my restaurant, with my life. No matter what I did, she had to be there. We were just very, extremely close. To this day, you know, all my friends and the people work for me. How do you get along with a young chick, 16 years younger than me, and she's Catholic and you're Protestant, and she's got a 16 years of college, and you go to fourth grade education. I got that. I got it. He was there all the time.
Yeah.
Here I am. I got a beautiful person. I love her dearly. She loves me, and I love her family. And the longer I wait, older I'm getting. And the idea going through my mind, if I'm going to have a family, I better start having. So we talked about it, and then there's first kids I had, there was the twins. We started out with a big bang. Ashley, she was all black and blue because her sister was, I guess, kicking her or something. She was in the incubator, in the room. And the room had windows, like a bay windows like this. There was a little space just like this, but not as wide as that. I bring blanket. I was sleeping there for a long time until they got her out of the incubator, until they were very premature. I get up in the morning, 6 o'clock, I go to work. I come home at 6 o'clock at night. She takes care of the babies 6 in the morning, 6 o'clock at night. And I come home, doesn't matter how tired I was, I took over the babies, she went to sleep. And colicky, sometime I had to put them in the car seats. I go take them for a ride in the car, pass out. It was for her not enough sleep, and they're always crying. And me, I ran American Airlines fleet, 24-hour job, 7 days a week. I had a body shop, I had 10, 15 people working in it. And I was getting worn out. It wasn't easy. But somehow we survived. It was very joyful. I enjoyed very much to the game. We go to the games, we go to vacations with the family, and it doesn't matter what kind of work I was doing, how important it was. I had to come home, change, go to the game. I don't mind to go pick them up. I don't mind to go for the games, and I enjoyed it. That was one of my highlights in my life, watching them grow.
Happy birthday to Caitlin. Happy birthday to you.
Going to parents' dance and the events at the school. Lindsay and Ashley, Katie, and it was good. It was good. I got one Ashley's daughter.
What's
Yeah.
her name?
Her name is Yeva. Extremely bright. I always say we're coming back from their house or took them to the blueberry picking or raspberry picking, and they would take them to the ice cream or something. Extremely bright and smart. I tell my Jean, I says, I'm kind of scared worried about when she gets older, boy. She's a go-getter. She's a pleasure to have. I thank God, and I always prayed, and God answered my prayers, and we're very, very blessed that all the three girls, they were in good health, and they did well, and they did good in school, and very lucky. I feel very thankful. My legacy always been family. I had a most beautiful growing up. I worked very hard. Most of my success, most of my talent is because of my father, because my mom. We weren't very rich, we weren't very rich at all, but thank God I had it all.